Welcome to Unveiled, a podcast revolving around the wedding industry, bringing you stories and highlights from people that make your wedding special. Today's guest, we have Kaitlin. How you doing today?
Good. Thank you for having me on the very first podcast.
I think it had to be done
It did.
because I think when you're going through the wedding process, what's the first thing anybody should do?
Book a wedding planner, or
Exactly.
at least consult with one.
Exactly. So, Kaitlin, you own Key Events.
Yes.
So tell the viewers what you do and what you offer.
Ooh, big question, big loaded question. So I own ItskeeEvents. We are a wedding planning service. We offer it's called event management, also known as day of coordination.
Yes.
We start about 3 to 4 months out. We also do partial planning for the people who kind of want to do a little bit of their planning, but want to make sure those I's are dotted and the T's are crossed.
Right.
Or we do the full explosion of full service planning.
Of course.
So we kind of give those three options to clients around Indianapolis and the surrounding areas.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I know we worked together in the past, and I know instantly getting your emails, I was like, she knows what she's doing. Especially like the follow-up emails, days before the wedding. I was like, when I get married, you're probably going to be planning my wedding
Thank
as
you.
well. Of course.
We just pride on communication at the end of the day, making
100%.
sure Indiana has so many great wedding vendors
Yeah.
and just keeping communication clean and making sure that everyone has the information that we have, or we gather information from you as a
Right.
vendor, and it makes our client's day even more beautiful.
100%. So let's start from the beginning. What got you into wedding planning?
Oh, so I studied events back at IUPUI, now known as
I
just
know.
IU
Just changed, right?
Indianapolis. So I studied there. I actually was in sports. Like that
Okay.
was my go-to. Did an internship with the Colts and the
Oh, nice.
Indianapolis Indians and fell in love with just the game day operations and the high pace of everything
Yeah.
and just the atmosphere. And then I did an internship back at another venue my senior year, and it was for mainly weddings.
Right.
And I fell in love with the fact that it was a little bit like sports, and you have one time.
Exactly.
You're gonna get it right, or you're not.
Exactly.
And so I fell in love with that. And after I graduated, I worked there for about 3 or 4 years. And then, I was at that age where all my friends were getting married.
100%. I'm in that age right
Yes.
now.
And so they said, "Hey, will you do my wedding?" And I just was like, "Okay, I think this is a nice little, let's try it. Let's figure it out."
Right.
And then It's Key was born right after that. And I just kind of kept it going. And here we are going on 7 years.
That's amazing. So you've been in
Yeah.
this business for 7 years.
Yes, I've been in events for about 10.
Okay.
But It's Key, my little baby,
Right.
is about 7.
So tell me about the first time you planned your first wedding. Because I know for me,
Yeah.
getting into the business, I done my first wedding video for free for my cousin.
Oh yeah.
And, I didn't even know what I was doing. And I
Yes.
just went into it and then, come to find out, did a decent job at the time. And then I was like, you know what? Now everybody's reaching out to me. So tell me
Mhm.
about that.
Well, you're always your worst critic at the end of the day.
100%.
First wedding, oof, it like gives me goosebumps. So I pretty much DM'd every single follower I had
Oh,
on my
yeah.
personal social media, and just any girl I saw that had an engagement ring, I was like, "Hey, I'll do your wedding
Yeah.
at this X amount, or I will do it, discounted, or just like write me a review. Like
Right.
let me just understand this side of it." I knew a lot of how wedding planning happened because I ran a wedding venue, and I think that's
Oh,
what
okay.
makes,
Just a little bit better.
yeah, I wouldn't say better, but it definitely gives me that insight of like, I understand the way background, but I
100%.
really wanted to understand like, this is a stressful time. People are sometimes a little more stressed, so they're happier or they're more freaked out. And so I really wanted to understand if I could handle that side of weddings.
Right.
And so I just hustled on DMing and giving out as much as I could. And it just
Right.
slowly started rolling and networking. I mean, Indianapolis has such a good wedding vendor
Oh my
group
gosh.
that,
Yes, it does.
just grabbing coffee once a week with someone new was my go-to thing, of just reaching out and
Yeah.
starting a tribe as much as I could, as well as just reaching out to everyone I knew that was getting
100%.
married.
That is awesome. So, when people are reaching out to you,
Mhm.
what do you think? sets you apart from maybe your competitors, or obviously from already hearing your story, that's an advantage, right? Because when you're in the business and you have done the other side, it makes this side of the business a little bit easier. So what do you think gives you just a little bit of an edge?
I truly think it is my background. With studying events in college, I did internships from, the design of it. So I worked with a fabric company
Nice.
and decorators. Then I did catering to understand that side.
Yeah.
I also worked with florists. And so I was able to get a full circle
Yeah.
of the industry, and then falling into my last internship as a venue coordinator, and then following through that to my business. I think that is my edge up, is I've tried to put myself in every single person's shoes to
Right.
understand the best way to communicate to them,
Uh-huh.
the best way they like a day to flow.
Yeah.
And that just makes me a better coordinator or planner, because I understand how to communicate
Right.
if there's issues or things that are coming up, and to think plan A, plan B, plan C. Just because your wedding's inside,
Right.
there's also still those issues that might come arise. And I like to try to think of the biggest picture
Yeah.
and kind of work our way down. And so I think that helps my clients understand that I'm looking at every single angle from a vendor's point of view and my point of view. And so I think
100%.
that kind of helps
100%.
and
That's great.
gives my
So, wedding planning, wedding coordinating. Give me a step by step process. I know you have two different things.
hmm
I know it's probably a loaded question, but if I were to come to you, what should I be expecting? Like, what should okay? Do you because let me pause. If I'm getting married actually,
yeah.
but if I'm looking, to get some help, I need to know exactly what you do.
Yes.
So I know you have different parts that you handle, but what exactly do you do?
I mean, ooh, yeah, loaded question. So really what it comes down to, I always tell a client at the very beginning, once that ring is on that person's finger, you
Yeah.
guys got to figure out your budget.
Yeah.
You have to truly figure that out, because that's how you start planning.
100%. Yeah.
That's how you start shopping for a venue. That's just depending on who you can book
Uh-huh.
and who's in your price range. You also have to figure out your guest count,
Right.
because then that venue comes next. And so when I come into a factor, usually a lot of people, wedding planning has become bigger. I
Yeah.
think day of coordination, event management has definitely come to be popular in the last probably 3 to 5 years. And so when someone comes to me, I'm pretty much helping them figure out what package they need
Right.
and what's going to fit within their budget.
Gotcha.
If they are someone, there's some girls that are like, I've been thinking of my wedding for X amount of years. I have this vision. I just need those trustworthy vendors that you trust that are going to match my vision,
Yeah.
match me with them, and then work with me when we get closer. Okay, perfect. Then event management is
Right.
totally your side. Partial planning, the girls that are like, hey, I have a full-time job.
Right.
I, I don't want to fully plan it, but I do enjoy, doing a few things on
Picking
my
up the little
end.
stuff.
Yeah. But I really need help figuring out the vendors. Or, this year I have a lot of girls that aren't in Indy.
Right.
They're, out on the East Coast and the West Coast. And
Yeah.
so they need boots on the ground.
So you're traveling too.
I am, but these girls, I mean, all my weddings this year are in Indiana. But a lot of my girls are in school
Right.
or
Right.
just away and
Exactly.
coming back home to get married. But they don't really want the full cost of a full planner. So
Right.
then the partial is where I say, well, you have those extra 10 hours you can use whatever way possible, whether that's design or doing extra detail meetings
Yeah.
or, stuffing invites and
Exactly.
the tedious things that you don't want to do.
Right.
And then if someone says, you know what, I want you to hold my hand and be that third wheel,
Yeah.
that's me, and that's full planning.
Right.
And so we just it's a series of questions we go through. I really enjoy getting to know my clients, just because we're going to be together for a long
It's a
time,
long journey.
and it's a long day.
Yeah.
And if you don't see my vision and, enjoy my company and
Right.
personality, then there's plenty of other girls I'm happy to suggest.
100%.
So,
So, before I answer my next
yeah.
question, I would say my experience doing wedding video, having a coordinator makes the day go by and easier, so much better. I can't express that. So, you ended off saying how, working with different clients. how do you navigate, Bridezilla, or, some clients that may be a little tougher to handle? Well, I guess that kind of gets weeded out, during the discovery
Yes.
call.
There are
So,
those key like words that I'm like, oh,
yeah.
okay. Hmm.
Yeah.
Red flag, orange flag.
Yeah.
So with me being in it for 7 years, I'm able to truly weed those people
Right.
out. Yes, some people put their best foot forward and the other foot comes halfway through
Yeah.
planning. Um, but it's just navigating and understanding. I call it the bride flu.
Yeah. It's a stressful time.
It's stressful.
Yeah.
You have so many opinions coming. I think a lot of people nowadays too also have this. Well, it has to look Instagram worthy.
100%.
Or my friend spent X amount, so I have to spend X amount.
Oh, so
Well, your
don't you
friend
hate
doesn't.
that?
Your friend's definitely in a different
Right.
situation. And they only had 50 people. Of course, they spent that much.
Right.
You have 250. That's
That's
you're paying for a lot more. It's hard. I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't think that answered your question, but it's truly understanding that some of these girls and boys, they are planning the biggest event of their life
Yeah.
and most special event that,
Right.
yeah, we all kind of go a little intense, but I try to kind of weed those out
Right.
during that first consultation to understand, if we're compatible
Right.
through
100%.
it.
I wholeheartedly understand that and I agree with that because I have client calls as
Yeah.
well, and that's something that I actually just started adding to my business. I don't know
Yeah.
why I wasn't doing that before, but it was almost weird because I would go and I have a initial call, but I do all my stuff on Google Drive,
Yeah.
and I meet the person before, but beforehand I was just on the phone call, and I get there, and then you can't really tell a person's vibe just from a phone call,
Mm-mm.
so it is a little bit different. So how do you navigate issues that may arise, or has there been an issue that has rise the day of wedding?
There's always issues.
Yeah,
Um, always issues, but I consider myself a very chill
yeah,
person, so I think that
yeah.
helps. I'm a little more type B, but
I can second that.
thank you. Type B, but I'm type A when I need to be.
Yeah,
Um, things always happen, and it is funny when my clients will reach out a month later, tell me what happened. I'm like,
yeah.
do you really want to know? Um, but
Right.
usually it's just like random things that it's the act of God, or
Yeah.
it unfortunately fell and
Right.
we had to retape it. Um, it's being flexible, but it's also building that vendor team. And
Right.
I always go back to that. When clients are doing this vendor selection, I say you have to go with. I'm a gut person. You got to
Yeah.
trust your gut. You got to, if you like their style, you like how they work, they're going to make it happen. You
Right.
hire professionals
Yep.
and things won't go wrong. And
Right.
if things go wrong, they're like the tiny things that are random and they're fixed and
Right.
you didn't know about it.
100%. I think that's the another key I want to touch on too is they're coming to you for suggestions. You probably already have a verified, vendors list, so
Yeah.
you probably weed out a lot of those things that could go wrong from a vendor standpoint.
That and everyone's so different. And I try to explain that in my consultation. I might send, one couple, three florists, and I might send the other two completely different florists
Right.
because their vision are two different visions. And
Exactly.
so I try to weed and say, I don't want to overwhelm my clients. I try to give 2 to 3. I always say 2 to 3, look at it, we'll
Yeah.
discuss, then we'll go to the next round if you don't like that.
Right.
And it is, I think I take time and understanding my client's vision and their personality so I
Right.
can figure out what vendor is best for them.
Of course. So, when you're planning everything, can you give me a story or give me a time where you was like, you know what, I done that. Like this wedding was great.
I mean,
What's
every single
one
one.
wedding that right that stands out to you? I guess what I'm asking is for me, it probably was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And I feel like I had my style down,
Yep.
or everything just started coming natural to you.
Yeah.
What's a wedding that you was like, I think I got this now?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, this is going to
You probably
sound,
done so many.
this is going to, I mean, all of them I've learned something.
Right.
I always learn something. And then there's that like aha moment of I'm like,
Yeah.
we made it through
Right.
and this was successful. And I question a few of the ideas that I was thinking of,
Right.
but we did it. But going back to the like cliche, like Carolyn's and Matt's,
No, that was amazing.
that one to me, shout out to them if they're ever watching. Um, I spent so much time with them.
Yeah.
They were both at like it was both of them at the meetings.
Yeah.
We came to Kokomo for cake tasting. Like
Right.
that one meant so much because I was with them at every single meeting.
Yeah.
We, phone calls, Zoom calls. It was us three
Yeah.
the entire time. And that's how I try to sell my full planning package of like, I'm your third wheel.
Exactly.
And I truly kind of felt like their third wheel. I mean, they would be texting me and say, hey, how's Bert? Which Bert is my dog. Albert.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that wedding to me was just
Yeah.
because I spent so much time with them
Right.
and I knew so much of their history. And it was serendipity of just, wow, this is complete. And now we don't talk as much.
No, right? I know. I was about to say when I was going through booking process with them as well, I was like, hey, you want to hop on a call? He's like, yeah, I'm sent to my wedding coordinator. I was like, I've never done that before, but all right, let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
No, it was a lot of fun planning that. I mean, every single wedding is fun to
Yeah.
plan. But that one sticks out recently just because it just happened. But all of them are so good. And I think it's because I'm having more girls switch to full planning and partial.
Yeah.
I'm truly understanding their love story and I'm getting involved with their relationship and their planning
100%,
process. So
yeah.
I understand their family dynamics and their dynamics and it's exhausting to plan a wedding. So they confide in me and conversation over phone or coffee is always fun because I feel like they trust me even more on not a vendor level but a friend level too.
Of course, that's great. So are you ready?
Uh-oh.
Mira, is she ready? I think. All right, hot takes.
Okay.
Hot take segment.
Okay.
Nothing crazy. But what do you think some stuff in the wedding industry right now that you absolutely hate?
Sparklers.
You hate sparklers? Why is that? Oh, they're a pain to light. They are.
I have one bride from 2 or 3 years ago. Anytime there is a reel or a post about sparklers, she DMs me and she's like, haha, what do you think? And I'm like, you know what I think. It's just, and I support if any of my clients want to do sparklers, they're happy to do them.
Yeah, they're so nice.
But you're giving fire to people who have enjoyed alcoholic beverages. That's my warning right there.
Yeah.
They're hard to light.
Yep.
It's hard to get people out there.
Hard to get people in the line.
It is.
Funnel.
And I love a good dance floor.
Yeah.
So I always push just have a good dance floor.
Yeah.
Don't cut your dance floor. Don't cut your DJ or don't cut your band 10 minutes to go.
To do a fake send off and then come back.
Yeah.
It does kind of kill the mood, doesn't it?
It does. And it is hard to get people to just go and do that because they're wanting to enjoy. And then you're like, hey, you got to come out here. Don't grab your stuff, but come back in. And then you can come back in. It is a little crazy at times. But that's, sparklers are not my friend, but I'll deal with them if I have to.
Okay. So, do you have and you don't have to share.
Okay.
Do you have a horrible wedding experience?
I have great lessons.
Great lessons. Okay.
I have great lessons and great stories when we're not on the podcast.
Okay. We'll save it. We'll save that for later.
But they're always lessons like, oh, okay.
Well, I'll tell you when that happened to me. It's not crazy, but it could very well. I think a lot of issues come from miscommunication. So I was filming a wedding, and Amira, you was actually here. You was at that wedding. Now that I'm thinking about it, you were at that wedding. We got to a wedding venue, and I never asked this question. I just, get in there, start setting up. And I'm just like, hey, so who's the wedding photographer? They look at me and they're like, you are. I'm like,
Oh,
there's nothing on my website that says photos. You know, I talked to the clients, but we made it work. I had to call some backup, but yeah, that was a stressful time
that
for me.
makes me sweat right now.
Yeah. Could you imagine going to a wedding venue and they didn't have a wedding coordinator?
No.
So,
They're details that we make sure.
100%. So, any closing remarks, any questions for
Closing
me, or
remarks. Oh
where
gosh.
can these people find you?
They can find me at it's Key Events. That is KEE Events. Kind of a spelling for you.
We'll put it down there for you.
But yeah, we're on all social media outlets, and I don't know if I have any questions for you.
I want to thank you for coming on to the
Thank you
show.
for having
It
me.
was amazing. I want to say if you are engaged and you're looking for someone, I would highly recommend Kaitlin. I worked with her in the past. She's been absolutely great. And also, that's not it. After you get married, what else do you do?
I am also a real estate broker in Indiana, so I can help you find a home. Is one of my favorite things to do as well. It just kind of keeps that relationship with clients who get married.
So you do it all.
I try,
Yeah.
full circle. So I really enjoy helping its key clients kind of move into my real estate Kate clients.
Oh yeah.
Or, some couples already have a home and need to move into another one, so they need to sell it.
Oh yeah.
So we help all around Indiana. So
That's amazing. So,
yeah.
like I said, I want to thank you again.
Thank you.
And please, guys, don't forget to share, like, and subscribe this content. So our next episode will be with the Glam Lab Indy. Nicole, she's also great as well. She does makeup.
She's a rock star.
Worked with her in the past. So if you have any questions for her that you would like us to talk about in our next episode, please feel free to comment below. And once again, thank you. This has been Unveiled.